Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. To say it like that is like having echoes across time and space, which I guess that's what that is. So I guess we'll start with a sit for about 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and chat a little bit. So let's start with the robe chant. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. So hello everyone, and welcome to Inquiry. I'm very happy to have each and every one of you. So today I would like to offer a talk about gratitude. And it's specifically the gratitude that I'm experiencing today. It's the gratitude that I'm carrying in my heart today. So it came to me it started with an email. I received an email with just a picture. And the picture was sent by one of my mom's caregivers. So she's been doing that recently, taking pictures of my mom and I. And it seemed strange to me at first. I wasn't used to somebody taking pictures of us. And I got used to it. Now I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And it's a physical evidence of our being happy together. What a shock. And it seems so important and just wonderful, especially because she's 102. Oh, she's not 102. She will be 102 in March. And it's also because we've struggled so much throughout the years. So it's really a gift. A gift that's happening, that we are relating well and we're happy together. Not all the time, of course, but a lot of the time. So I sent you a picture ad. I don't know if you saw it or not. I don't know if you can share it. You don't have to do it now. You can do it at the end of the talk, but just if you find it, let's see, emails, we'll share it. So the picture is of my mother and I waiting for her hair appointment at the beauty salon where she lives. And she's sitting there and she's reading. My mother reads constantly, and she reads anything. Like I say, she's 101, and so she reads the street signs when we're in the car, when we're in restaurants. She reads not only the menu, but the sugar, containers, or the mustard, or whatever. She reads anything she can get her hand on. She reads. She was an avid reader, and even more so now. So we get read to about everything. So anyway, so we were sitting together, and she was reading me something from a magazine. So that's what the picture of is of, and I'd like to show it to you, you to see it, because of our body language is so nice. So I'd like to give a little history about that, because it wasn't always that so. It wasn't like that between her. We had a lot of struggles, and I always felt like she never saw me or never heard me. And it seemed like she wanted me to be somebody else. She had certain expectations, and I just wasn't doing it. So for many years, as I say, I was felt unseen, and I didn't feel good enough. I thought that was the reason that she, couldn't see me. It's because I just, wasn't good enough. And I felt like I couldn't please her, which was something I desperately wanted to do. So a few years ago, and I've been working on this for a long time. I've been complaining about this issue for many years. You can ask Flint about that. And a few years ago, we were studying the Four Noble Truths. And actually, I think it was Joel and I were teaching on it at a retreat here at Apamata. And I was really examining the different aspects of the Four Noble Truths. Verse 1, no, you have suffering, there is suffering. And I thought, well, what is my suffering? What is my bigger suffering? And it was my relationship with my mom. And I realized that the cause was that unhappiness, the unhappy relationship with her. And I thought it was caused because my mom didn't see me. That was the reason we couldn't relate very well. That she just missed me completely. So the second question, the Four Noble Truths, what comes up is, in what way are we participating in our own suffering? So I contemplated that for a while. What is my part in this? And finally, it dawned on me that I was expecting her to be different than who she was. I was expecting her to be a different kind of mom, that she just wasn't, and that she couldn't be for whatever reason. And so I was expecting her to love me no matter what, and that she would see and understand me. And the truth of the matter is, apparently she couldn't do that. And so I was causing more suffering by somehow demanding that she be otherwise than who she is. I was not accepting her as she was. It's like, wow, that's a radical thought. And it really surprised me. So I started thinking. I said, okay, so I clearly see that my secret demands, my secret desires were based on her changing. My expectations, in fact, were just as unreal as hers were. So somehow, slowly, but miraculously, nonetheless, through practice, I began to let go of the need for her approval or her need for her to see me. I started doing the strangest things with her, or it wasn't that I was doing them, things were just happening. I'd start to sit and she was very upset, and I just grabbed her and sat her down and I said, tell me what all the complaints you have right now. You have my ears. Now, I had never done anything like that before in my life, and I don't know what came over me, but it did. And so she sat and she related to everything that was bothering her. And I realized at that same moment that I didn't have to do anything. It was the sitting her down and just listening that made the difference. That was an aha moment for me. There's so much of this stuff that I was so ignorant about. And at other times, we'd start to get into an argument over something, some inane thing. And something would come over me, and I would say something that would absolutely stop it in the tracks. I'd circumvent it. And it's like, where is this coming from? And so slowly, we started to, do a slightly different dance. And then all of a sudden, I realized I need more affection. So I'd go up to my mom and say, I want a hug. And she'd come and she'd give me a real wimpy hug. I mean, it really was not satisfactory. And I said, no, I want a real hug. Give me a hard hug. Just give it to me. And there we started. And we started this thing with affection. It was the most incredible thing. My family was not a touchy-feely family. But we started it. And then after a certain length of time, she started saying, I want a hug. And it was like, yes, okay, come on. And it's just really sweet. It's just really sweet. And I started kissing her on the cheek, which I've never done in my life, when she was going to bed. It's like, what is going on with me? I have no clue. Who is this person? It was the most amazing thing. And so she liked it, and I liked it. And I'd say to her, you need a hug just as much as I do, and vice versa, right? So now we started to readily show affection toward each other. And it was some kind of miracle, I tell you. It was a miracle. Another thing that happened was one day I saw something in her study. I usually stay in her study, and there was a piece of paper out on the cabinet there, or out on the surface of the cabinet. So I was looking at it, and I saw my name on it, and went, oh, okay. I guess this is meant for me to read. And so she wrote my story. She wrote a story. It was only a paragraph long. But it told another story that I've never heard her tell before. It wasn't about all my failings. It was about how, she was talking about I got married, and then the other guy he wasn't good enough, and that's why I got divorced, which is not true. He was a very fine guy. It just, the relationship ended, but whatever. And the next thing she said was, and Laurie is now doing meditation. That's a big part of her life at this place called Appamata. She never had mentioned any of that stuff on her own, never talked about it. And that this person, Flint Sparks, had come into her life, blah, 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 blah. It made a lot of difference. And I would say that my mother was seeing me at last, and she left that out for anyone to see. It just blew me up, it just blew me away. So it's like, all of a sudden, after all these years, she got it. She got it. And what a surprise. What an absolute surprise. And so for all of this, I am extremely grateful. And yesterday, I was particularly reminded of this situation that's ongoing. And I felt so much gratitude again. And I felt that gratitude because the caregiver sent this picture. So this is me, my mother and I in the beauty parlor. And as you can see, she's reading. But I look at the body language. It's so funny because we're both leaning in. And it's just, I don't know. I've got a huge smile on my face, and she's just really into her reading like she always is. It is just, and she's leaning in, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you all today because, I don't know, I just wanted to share my gratitude. And so I'm wondering, with this, what is in or on your heart today, and what anybody would like to share?
And
Looks like Bridget is.
yes.
Laurie, I'm very grateful for your remarks today because it's interesting. Just last week, my son, with whom I've been so estranged, actually called me last week, and we spoke, and there is a small move towards repair. So it's very encouraging to hear your story and your process, because it just is very applicable to where I am in my life right now, and I'm exceptionally grateful. And the other thing is to also express gratitude. I went to a benefit for Cassia Marinella last night and literally was dancing in the aisles at the end. So I know that even when we have periods of suffering and disconnect from people that we want to love and want to be seen and heard by, we can still experience joy in spite of the suffering. So thanks.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you so much. Thank you for mentioning the joy. Darcy.
Yep, looks like we have Darcy coming up, and there you
Yeah,
go.
so I wanted to thank you for this story, Laurie. It's such a wonderful example of, this is something that Peg has talked to me about. and I don't remember the resource. I guess she can speak up and share it if people want it. It's about recrafting a story. You know, we have stories about our lives, and so often we kind of hope for things and we wait for things to happen rather than realizing we have agency in recrafting that story, you know. And of course you can't control what other people's reactions are, but you can actually, it's like turning the table and realizing, oh, I can act differently, and then we'll see what happens. But to imagine how you want the story to develop and start changing how, like you said, you changed the dance. I like that too. That's a good way of putting it. But thank you for giving this example. It really is inspiring and encouraging to me personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. I think it's really a tribute to our practice. I mean, obviously, it's the practice that does it. It's not. I don't think it's an individual willing it or wanting it, or it. I don't know. There's something about the practice that changes things at the root somehow, changes us maybe. Yeah. I mean, I want to make a clarification that my mom we still fuss, you know, she still gets mad at me. Or she just gets mad because she's, you know, 101 and life is not, you know, what she wants it to be, right? But so there's still that stuff. It's not a bed of roses, but at the heart of it, it feels completely different. And I have more patience, you know, probably because we have the affection. There's some new formed connection that we didn't have before. It's not made of expectations or meeting expectations. We have Julia.
Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Julia.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think we've all got a story about family. Mine is with my sister, who is just 16 months older than me. And I feel as if I've always lived in her shadow. And she's always been the brighter one. She's always been the one that got it right. I was always a bit deviant. And it was always as if I had to live up to something, and she always seemed to look down on me. This is how I felt, that I was never good enough. And particularly after we lost both parents, then there was only me and her, and I was never good enough. And then that moment came of the turn of realizing that actually I was asking her to be something she wasn't. I was asking her to give me something that she didn't have to give.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, that whole relationship became reframed. And it's still not easy because it's not a conversation I've had with her, but I'm not judging myself so much. And there's times when I feel great compassion for her, that she's unable to express love in the way that I would want.
Yeah.
Like to see our relationship to be, but that turning point just changes everything.
Exactly.
And the more I'm involved in the practice, I realise this isn't just me. This is family. This is where things are. And somehow there's nothing to be ashamed about. But yeah.
That's wonderful. So is there something particular you attribute that to? this change? Was it?
I think it's just the practice. I think it's just the practice of taking responsibility and realizing how easy it is to want somebody else to change.
Isn't it though?
Change rather than taking responsibility to say, hey, maybe anything's got to change here. I'm the only one that that I've got any control over.
Exactly. That's wonderful. Yeah. Good for you. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Becky.
Okay, I think I got it this time. Thank you so much, Laurie. I've appreciated your stories and process that you've shared across the years that I've been here, which is what, just 4 or something now, but it's always felt so direct, like, and I always am pleased when teachers act like people with a whole life that isn't always together. I think that's something. No, I think that's something that's important to not have the idea for yourself. Oh, I should have it together, so I'm not going to say anything about this thing except maybe to one person, you know, and instead to use that as the teaching for each of us while it's in process. And and so I had been thinking about you and your mother recently. So the fact that you brought this today really, I really appreciate it because I was thinking about you and thinking what what that whole journey has been for you. And I think that it's hard having a mother or being a mother who is going to be a Dharma gate for someone.
Yeah. My best teacher ever.
I I have a daughter who absolutely thinks I am not the right mother. And I think a little bit about what that is still entangled with her issues in relationship to adoption that never has really resolved either. But off and on since she was in her teens, she just says not having anything to do with you, right? And now it's been many years, and I invite her for us to be together again in one way or another, and have offered the possibility that we might have some outside person, you know, therapist or whatever, that we could talk together to get there. But she chooses not to even respond. And so the work I had to do was to look at myself. Is there something else I can do here? I spent a lot of years really trying to do and to, you know, like that. And I've I've accepted it. I don't cry about it anymore. I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't feel angry with her. I feel compassion for her. I have huge love of her that will always be true. But there's nothing more really I can do besides every once in a while send her a card or something that says, thinking of you and love you lots. And it's unfortunate, but there isn't something else I can do about it. And if I stay riled about it, it's the opposite to that. So does that mean our session's over?
No, I'm see. I just hit it as I moved my hand back. Sorry about that.
Anyway, so I think that for us to share these aspects so that we don't feel weird or completely wrong and have some thoughts and so on from others who are or have gone through similar things. It's such a rich aspect of Sangha.
It really is. And I mean, the way I look at it is we're all learning together. And I feel it particularly in terms of the online group in the morning. We had this, it's not daily for me, it's daily for you guys, but I'm there usually, a couple of times a week. And yeah, it's so nice to be able to, talk about stuff. I really value that a lot. I think it's really important. That's the creation of Sangha, and we're all teachers. I feel strongly about that. We're all teachers and all students. So it's a value to be talking to each other, as it is. Thank you so much, Becky. I appreciate it.
And it looks like Claudine is up next. And
Nice to see you, Claudine.
Nice to see you, Laurie. I want to tell you how your talk brought me joy for you. It was I felt beaming for you, and I also realized something very important for my own relationship with my mother, that she's dead for 10 years now. Died 10 years ago. And I was always so angry with her, and we talked about it
Yeah.
once. I was always so angry. And this longing, this feeling of not being seen and not being heard and so on, was very strong in me, but never related to her because I was too busy to reject her. I never wanted to vow to myself that I wanted her to love me.
That's right.
All
Yeah.
I wanted, and it was quite also a relief to hear you tonight, because I realized, but yeah, I pretend that she didn't exist, that I don't wanted anything from her, but it's not the truth. It's something I don't want to see, but it does exist. It was that I wanted, really. And it's dangerous to acknowledge it. And so thank you so much for what you offered to us tonight, because I'm beginning to have problems with one eye, and my daughter, she's a therapist, and she keeps telling me, what do what you don't want to see? Tell me what you don't want to see. My answer tonight. So, thank you. And thank you for all of you who are here. Lots of love.
Thank you, Claudine. Thank you so much. So nice to see you.
okay, Rosemary is coming up.
Hi, Laurie. Thank you so much. I mean, I think it's a rather amazing story that such a difficult and painful relationship, daughter and mother, could change. And I'm really happy for you. And so my mother died like 40 years ago, a long time. But of course, she's still very present. And I'm just wondering to myself, well, could I look outside of my needs for her to have been different? I don't know, but I'm inspired by your efforts. Well, you didn't describe it as efforts. It's more like something, the practice just kind of evolved into something, into a new way of I think, perceiving what was happening. And
Yeah, and I have to say that I think that Flint had told me these things many years before. And what does Flint know anyway? I mean, I just blew him off. Probably because I couldn't do it, you know? I mean, the truth be told. I mean, I think he had told me at one point, oh, just love her anyway, even though she's the way she is. And it was just like, I can't do that. I don't feel that way at all. I can't fake that. And I certainly can't get there. You know, I mean, that's where I was coming from at that time, for a long time.
yeah, it's a radical idea.
Yeah, and it seemed to occur, I don't know, this is going to sound craziness, but it seemed to occur on its own in some ways. Well, yeah, I mean, those actions that I mentioned were not thoughts that I had in my head. I really want to fix this relationship. I need to do this. No, that wasn't it. It's just something, is like I was telling you the other day. It's like, it was this energy of, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to get a little woo-woo here for everybody, but it was like the Dharma came over me, and we ended up calling that kind of a bodhisattva, but that makes me uncomfortable. But just the Dharma came through me is the way I look at it, because it wasn't me acting, I tell you. And I never thought to do any of the things. It wasn't a thought. It wasn't planned. I just did something in a moment for some reason, and I can't tell you why. And it just wasn't me doing it.
Sounds like awakening.
I think it's that kind of activity. I wouldn't call it awakening. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I got too much ego, to be honest with you, to be awakened, but certain activities, you know, seem to come, and then this happens. And like I say, I have no control over that whatsoever. Yeah, just some things that happened. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Well, it's inspiring, and yeah.
So in saying that, it's the practice. It's the practice. Something about this practice. I don't know. I'll have to ask Peg. What's going on here, Peg? I don't know if she's still here, but it's the practice. There's something about sitting and something about sitting and really making an effort to contemplate things. You know, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, like you asked yourself, well, what's my contribution to this? So
That really opened it up.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. There's a comment in the chat, I guess.
It's from Lisa Judge.
The practice helps you to align with the universal energy of love, God, the ground of being, formless field of benefaction, whatever name you give it for something that can't be captured and described in words, only experienced. Yeah, I'll take that. Trudy. Hello again.
Hi. Nice to see you again. I was thinking a lot about grace while you were talking. You know, that might be, yeah, look, that might be one of the words I might use about something like that. And I divorced my family, my birth family, about 30 years ago. And haven't seen anybody since, as a way to thrive, not just survive. And I was thinking about, you know, what would I do now? You know, would I do anything different now with practice? You know, what but I was thinking about my internal relationship with my now dead parents. And
That's a really good question, Trudy.
yeah,
It's a really good question because I don't think it's ever over. Yeah.
no,
And so the relationship still lives in you and you can change that.
yeah. I'm really curious because I'm kind of thinking, what would I want to change? Because I have such gratitude for being ejected into growing up.
Yeah, yeah,
There's something about that kind of no longer being parented by choice, and finding, that kind of internal, how can I be a good parent for myself? Because they're not doing a really good job. So how can I do that?
yeah.
And there's something about that, I was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and we were talking a little bit about the difference between, in therapy as a therapist, like letting go. But then something about practice that seems much more akin to me to things dropping away.
Yes.
Like that feels like the effortless thing after all the effort of sitting and contemplating and
Right.
but it's that kind of, and that's where I sort of think of the grace bit, is somehow you do all of that and then like that it doesn't feel like you're doing it, like something drops away. And I was thinking, I don't hate them, and I have like Becky, I kind of hold a lot of compassion for the level of damage and trauma they carried,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm
exactly.
really grateful for some of the legacy I have from them. And it's just so interesting, those ruptures and what we can kind of make out of them that makes life a little better rather than a little worse.
I think that's totally, totally right. I mean, I left home when I was 17. I got married. I wasn't pregnant. Nobody asked that question right after that. But anyway, just to clarify. Um, yeah, and yeah, you make your own way. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a decision of, and anybody's own indecision what to do. But sometimes if you can make, you sound like you already have some peace with it, but yeah, a ceremony sometimes, your own ceremony that you create that hits what needs to be hit can be useful.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it just feels so important to, like people have been saying, to say, many of us are sitting because we come from fractured histories. We tend not to be sitting here if everything was hunky-dory.
All right, that's right.
So to say, yeah, life was difficult to get here.
Yeah. And it was also the impetus to get here, right? And so we were talking this weekend. We did a ton, way too many probably, teachings this weekend. We had 10 different Dharma talks and activities and what, so it was really loaded. But, the things that we call hindrances and so forth, that's what gets us on the cushion in the first place.
Yeah.
So would you call that a hindrance really, ultimately, or would you cause it, just a step in the process, maybe the requirement for getting on the path?
Like the Dharma gates are usually not the ones we welcome.
That's absolutely right. And we avoid them sometimes for a while.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing something that kind of had a real opportunity to shift.
Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. Okay, I think that we're done for today, except for our next chant. So let's do the caught in the self-centered dream. Now, so caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding the self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding the self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding the self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Thank you all for being here today. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Laurie. And I just want to let everyone know that Appamada's programs, facilities, its teachers rely on your support and generosity. And if you go to the website, appamada.org/contribute, you'll find a way to do that. And if you'd like to hang around a little bit more, we're going to have a virtual porch for another 30 minutes. And we'd love to have people stay and talk and chat and listen, whatever comes up. And aloha. Thank you very much, Laurie.
Thank you, Ed. I really appreciate you being here as monitor. We need you. We needed you today. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I won't expect you till 15 after the next time.
Actually, you can have the expectation, but just realize I have no obligation to meet your expectation.
All righty then. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.